Become a sustaining member of the Commonwealth Club for just $10 a month. Join today.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Commonwealth Club of California. I'm Denise Michaud, chair of the Grown Ups Forum, and we are so excited to have our three guests here today. They're going to talk about the upcoming Age March. It's going to be a big global event. Of course, it's going to be virtual, and it's an event you don't want to miss. It's a place where every person is counted and every age is celebrated. So let's meet our guest. Barbara Rose Brooker is a San Francisco author and journalist, and she is the reason we're having this program here today. She is the founder of the first Age March in history. Julie Stern is an award-winning executive producer, and she is actually producing the Age March. And Melissa Rivers, of course, everyone knows her as a fashion and pop culture host, an actress, a philanthropist, and an author, and so much more. And we are thrilled to have her here. She is going to be moderating a conversation between Julie and Barbara. So our program is about an hour long, and we want all of you viewers to enter your questions in the YouTube chat room because we want to entertain questions at the end of the program. So Melissa, I'm going to hand the program off to you. I'm going to go off screen, and towards the end, I'll come back with the viewer questions in hand. And I believe we have a short clip.
Yes, let's take a look at the clip and then we'll get started.
You paved the way for this march. Now tell me about this march.
Age March.
Yeah.
Author Barbara Rose Brooker organized the march, saying ageism affects everyone.
I was going to have an age march to celebrate who we really are and end age discrimination.
Let's stop this and be people without a number.
Ageism is for all ages. It's not just because I'm 83 I'm talking about it. I think it's a culture cancer. Age is not a one size fits all. Aging is for everybody. This should be global. We're going to take it over.
Well, that was amazing. Hi, Barbara. Hi, Julie.
Hi, Melissa, Julie.
This is so exciting. Let's just start because it's Zoom and everybody always wants to know, where is everyone? I am right now in Deer Valley and coming home tomorrow to Los Angeles.
I'm in San Francisco.
And Julie, where are you?
I'm in the Hollywood Hills here in Los Angeles.
We're all west of the Mississippi. I guess we need to start at the beginning. Barbara, why did you start the Age March movement?
I started it because in my 30s, I was a single mom. I was in college, going to grad school, and I had to wear a Velcro name tag that said reentry woman on it.
Wait, why? Wait, did you wear that? Wait, Bart, did you wear that because you thought it was funny? Because you do have great humor, or we actually
had to wear them because I was over 30. Anyone over 30, I was considered old.
It's like being reverse. It's like being reverse carded.
Exactly. Exactly. And I just said, oh my God, this is discrimination. And someday I'm going to do something about it. Because then when I was 40, it was something, published my first novel at 50. And then at 60, I was told maybe to take a cruise and go to Alaska, that it was too late for everything. So,
and did you take the cruise?
No, I never took the cruise, and I decided that I'm just going to keep writing more books and do my thing. And then at 73, which was 11 years ago, because I'm 84 now, I decided I'm going to give an age march. I actually had a dream, and everybody in the dream was marching, and they were all ages. They were 10, they were 92, they were 104, and kids were on skateboards. And I woke up and I started the age march. I gave my first age march in 2009. It was a grassroots affair, and like 400 people showed up in San Francisco, and we marched 2 miles around the beautiful bay. And this really, really happened, Melissa and Julie. It really happened. People came in all ages, kids on skateboards and bikes, women in their 90s holding up signs, Mickey Mouse is 100 and I can do it too. It was incredible. And that was the first one.
Julie, how did you get involved in this? Because I to bring people up to speed, you are an Emmy Award winner. You produced for everybody. You come out of the talk world. You helped develop, I don't know if we're allowed to say who, but helped create a global empire for a personality whose name might start with an O. I don't know if we're allowed to actually say it. What attracted you to becoming a part of this program, becoming a part of Age March?
I was approached by Susie Unger and Barbara. Susie's Barbara's daughter. And they talked to me about it. And I really liked how they interacted with each other, these multi-generational mother-daughter teams. And that
I can relate to that.
It attracted me to the idea of all this discrimination. And we talk about so many different types, but we really don't talk about age discrimination. And it doesn't necessarily mean that only the older generation gets discriminated against. It can also be the younger generation. And I just thought, what an opportunity, because I don't like to miss opportunities. And I just thought this was one that I could lend my efforts to, and it means a lot to me.
We live in a really interesting time, and you just brought that up about it's not necessarily only older. I mean, coming out of Hollywood, and Julie, you know that, and Barbara, you know that, and your daughter's in the business, and obviously I grew up in the business. There's definitely, with women, tremendous ageism. I mean, if we see one, and it's getting called out a lot more now with, a 70-year-old or a 65-year-old actor and the love interest is 28. Do you think that's because that's been, and yet women who date younger men are called cougars. These older men aren't called cradle robbers or whatever you want to call them. Why do you think that we have that complete and total disparity is not the wrong word, but disparity, that there's such a difference in the perception?
That's such an interesting question, Melissa. I call it the gender discrimination. And I think it happens because we give men too much power. It's okay if an 80-year-old man can hardly whatever will say to you, I've never dated a woman your age, and he can be 80 and decrepit, but a woman, if she's 80 or 84, oh my God, they don't want to date you. And there is it is a discrimination. And I think that women have to give more power to themselves and not to the number, to the age. I really think there's too much fear of age. Too many women are hiding age. They're lying about age. And I think that now all ages, and it doesn't matter whether you're 20 or 90, you really have to own your age.
One of the things, and you brought up the idea of also the younger generation. We saw the younger generation, who most of us would probably write off, who are the millennials, and like my son's a Gen Zer. They took control in a lot of ways of society and the election this year. And it's interesting because, especially with millennials, we really do look down upon them. We really do. I mean, and I'm completely guilty of it, of going, having to work with millennials and being like, they hate them. So it's funny because I always worry about people saying I'm too old, but I never really think about someone being too young. And yet the Age March is bringing that idea to light as well.
Yes, it is, because the Age March is for all ages, and it's for all genders, it's for all races, it's for all sexual orientations, it's for everybody. And the young, so many of the young, they don't get that job because they're told they're too young or not experienced enough. And if you're beyond a certain age, you can't get the job. Sorry, the job was taken. You get the job online and then you get there. Sorry, the job was just taken. Oh,
now didn't that happen, Barbara? Didn't that actually happen to you?
Oh, it happens all the time.
But I think there's a story where you told, or you may have told me, where you actually got a job and showed up for work and they couldn't believe it was the same person. Tell that story. Right.
Well, I applied for a job online in something that I'm qualified for. It was an editorial job. And I thought, oh, this will be great. And I applied for it and they said, terrific. We talked on the phone. Oh, you're just what we need. We love your experience. And I took a cab down and I walked in, and this girl, I guess in her 30s, and she had the, all the stuff, which I'm not criticizing, but anyway, she had purple and green and blue and rainbow hair. And
by the way, says the woman who's got a pink stripe in her hair.
I have a pink stripe.
You have lost, but you have lost all credibility on that one.
I did lose credibility on that. I was trying to say that what I was really going to say is she took one look and she said, oh, we tried to call you, but do you have text? And I said, yes. She said, we tried to call you. Sorry, the job was just taken. And, that happens not just to me. It happens to a lot of women I talk to.
And do you think it had to do with your age?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. She suggested that I go to the senior center. She said they have so many jobs on the job board. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. There is age discrimination out there. There really is. And it's segregated. We're segregated and we're defined by the number instead of who we are.
I agree. My mom always used to say she always wanted to write a script and have someone like do it under a different name and have some young girl say it was hers. And that it would do great. And the second they would find out that it was written by somebody older, they wouldn't be interested in it. So that's why I want to pivot to you on this, because you and I both come out of the world of producing and all this. How many times have you heard, or I have heard from executives, we need to go younger. We need to go younger. We need to go younger. And with me, which is so interesting in doing all the fashion police and the fashion coverage, people still want all the glamour girls in Hollywood right now are all late 40s, early 50s, yet the network was always pushing us to include younger. Did you get that? Do you get that kind of pressure? Hire someone. We need the younger point of view. We need this. We need that. I found that. And again, this one, we were giving jobs to people because they were younger, not necessarily because they were the best people for the job, but because, again, we were forced into finding a certain age.
You hit the nail on the head, where we're forced to finding somebody less experienced to meet a quota or to go younger. But in truth, something I take pride in is that when I have been presented with that, at the end of the day, it's the person best qualified for the job.
Yeah.
And if it's behind the camera, then, there was an instance of 2 camera guys that were on a studio show for, 6 years. And one day somebody came on the set and said, where are the 2 guys? And one of the producers said, we brought in somebody younger. And we pulled the plug on the production and we said, we're not moving forward unless you bring these people back.
Right.
They had 30 years of experience under their belt. It didn't make any sense. And so I've pushed back when I can. And if a project does require, and the criteria is for somebody younger or older, I try to just be as fair as I can. And I also try to message that to the other executives, because it educates them, right? When you stand up for something. Yeah. And it's not as scary. Right? It's not as scary. when you explain it to them and they trust you, and those guys came back on set the next day.
Right.
There was no reason why they should have been fired.
Fired anyway. But, and on the other side of the coin, I also think, and part of, I think, being in our business for so long and being of a certain age, it's also great when we can bring in someone who is qualified for the job to bring in a fresh point of view. My mom always said she always liked having younger friends because she felt they kept her fresh. How important is that?
And they do. They do.
Yeah.
I had an assistant who was younger, very young, and she was so smart. And there's no way I could have done this particular network job I was doing without her support. And I wanted her skills. I learned from her and she learned from me. No agenda, no discrimination. And I just think it's also just about educating, right? And showing people we can make it work. We just have to.
I say integrate. I think that's what the Age March is about, is that someday we'll have a generation that will be pro-age and not anti-age, and everyone will integrate. That's what I'm hoping for. I mean, my God, we're going to Mars and we're going to the moon, and how do we know, in generations to come, age will be a whole different meaning. It won't be so divided.
Well,
what is interesting. Oh, go ahead, Julie.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, what's interesting is, every 10 years you hear, well, 30 is the new 20 and 40 is the new 30 and this, that, and the other. And it's interesting because life experience never enters that conversation. I have friends who have kids who are in their 20s who have gone through so much. They're probably better judges of character in their 20s than I am at 50. Mm-hmm. And I think it's interesting that it's like when you always say, oh, someone's an old soul.
Yeah.
I think that's always very interesting. Yet if you attach a number to it, it's a compliment when someone's younger, yet it's almost an insult when someone's older.
I think that's such an important point, Melissa, the life experience, because age is not a one size that fits all. You can have 10 women who are 50 in a room or 490, and each one is going to be different. And I always say that how people always say age is only a number? Well, I don't believe that. It's not only a number. It's who you are individually. And we're all different and we're all aging every moment. And I think that point is very important. Young people, we don't know how long we're going to live, whether you're 20 or you're 104.
Well, like in the Middle Ages, if you made it to like 19, you were ancient, Right. That's why they had them all having kids at 12. It's a whole different thing. Why do you think, and this just popped into my head, that we give so much power to age over ability?
That's a very thought-provoking question.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it just popped in my head.
No, it's a good one. I think I'll just say what pops into my head is that I think our culture equates age with appearance.
Okay.
And also with death. And physical deterioration. And I think that's why age has become feared and shamed instead of celebrated. And that is why, in answering your question or addressing your question, what do you think about that? I think age has become this issue. It's treated like a disability instead of a gift. And it is a gift. We're breathing, we're alive, we're here talking about it. And it's also become a vocation for people.
In what sense?
Well, I think there's just so many TV things and so many books and so many everything and discussions and TED Talks and everything about how to age, how not to age, what is age, and over 40 this and over 60 this and over 70 this. It's just become an issue. It's instead of about the people and what's going on in our culture. That's how I feel. How do you feel?
I was going to say, it's really interesting because while you were answering, I was thinking about culturally, we're one of the very few countries that does not revere their elders.
That's true.
Yeah. I mean, that's a sore spot for me.
Really? Why?
I was close to my grandparents. I was close to my parents. The more they told me stories and I learned of their experiences, especially towards their deaths, I had always been empathetic towards the elderly, and because I respected what they have gone through and what they've survived. So the same thing happened, in hearing, the stories of my parents, and I have more respect for them. And we all have a story and we all have experience, and while you were asking the question, I started thinking about, Black Lives Matter. I mean, we have these opportunities.
Absolutely. We lost Julie for a second, but I know she's going with it. You were saying we have the opportunity to hear these stories. Yeah.
Yeah. The stories. And, from a distance, you can look at an older person and judge them. It's very easy. And that's the reason you do that is because of something lacking in yourself, right? But we're going to be that age one day. And I want to be able to tell my stories and be respected. And I'm going to be able to do my job, hopefully, for, many years to come, if I choose to.
Or once someone asked me, they asked me, they're like, is your mom losing her hearing? I'm like, no, she's just ignoring you.
I wonder what Joan Rivers would have thought about this age march.
She probably would have thought it was great. Her whole thing was once she hit a certain age, she's like, really? She's what's interesting? She found getting older in a lot of ways very free. Because her whole thing was, what are they going to do to me now that already hasn't been done? What, you're going to fire me? I've been fired. You're going to reject me? I've been rejected. You're going to say this? It's been said. And so she, in a strange way, found it very free.
She did. And look how free she was and what she was doing.
Trust me, it's why I'm still in therapy.
She didn't define. See, the thing is that I find distressing is that we really are defined by our age and we're compartmentalized. Doors are closed if you go above the 60 mark, for example, or they'll say the party's over, at 70. Like you're not supposed, there's roles that our culture gives to us depending on your age. And I find that sad. I think that we have to all take a stand and celebrate our age. And also, you may not agree with this, but I really don't like the labels. I don't like the labels senior and elder. I'm not an elder. I'm a person. I really don't like those labels.
It is nice getting into cheaper movies. I will say that.
The discount's good.
A discount regardless of age is good. It has nothing to do with age.
The discount's good.
Melissa, that's kind of the whole purpose of the Age March. It's to educate globally and to let go of the labels like we're doing with Black Lives Matter, like we're doing with anybody we discriminate against. And
it's true.
I just think I think it's all fear-based. And there's such an opportunity to all come together and share experiences and employ each other and hear stories and make a difference, and I hope in the next few years as BLM does evolve, I hope that the Age March can evolve and we won't need one,
How much do you think the media is at fault for this?
Well, I know, Julie, both of you could speak to that much more than I can, but as an author, excuse me, as an author, I have experienced it greatly when I've had, TV options on a book, for example, and my protagonists are always around my age. And they always make them into their 20s or something like that. And also the media, just to address this a little bit. I think 24 hours a day on TV, on the internet, is this constant anti-age message, which has nothing to do with the product. I love products. Everyone has a choice to look any way they want, but it's not the product, it's the message. Unless you buy this silky serum, unless you do this and rid yourself of your lines or you're not going to have this. Erase those telltale signs of age. I think it's a bad message. I think we've got to get a different message out. You talk about Black Lives Matter, the message, listen to the message. And like Jules said, we have to get that message. There's so much age shaming and age fear. And I know women who are truly, truly depressed because they're turning 70. They're truly, truly depressed. And I say I'm 84, and they said, good for you. I don't know how you do it. I mean, it's when they hear the number, there's like well, this is terrible. Poor thing. This does exist, whether anyone wants to think so or not.
Well, I feel like we get really mixed messages. So you're supposed to age gracefully, and you're supposed to use this product, you're supposed to look a certain way. And then I always feel that message is very counterintuitive to the idea of be yourself and age gracefully. And I think we're starting to see a little bit of a change, especially when it comes to like body image and stuff like that in the fashion industry. We're starting to see that a little bit with different body shapes, different body types, different this, different that. The one thing that is very slow to change is age. Models are all still young. They might be different body types now. They might have different ethnicities. They might look completely different, but they're all still young.
35.
35? Are you kidding me? You're not 30. Some models not 35. They're done at 28, except for a few.
And that's
you mentioned Joan Rivers, who I've always been obsessed with, and I still watch her documentaries and watch.
You're a better child than I am.
Oh, she wore those, boas in her acts, and she was irreverent and fun. She was ageless. She really was. And why can't, all of us, we all have purpose and dreams within us. It doesn't matter what it is, but purpose, I think, is the key to longevity. I often think if I didn't mind making a fool out of myself and pitching all the time and doing shows and whatever, I think, oh my God, what would I do? Someone would just think I'm an old lady. That's what they say. You're an old lady. People use those phrases: old lady, old man, young girl, age appropriate, all these phrases, be age appropriate.
But Melissa, it's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
Right? Because men and women just want to feel good. Right. If they want to put on the serum and just feel good.
It's a choice. That part's good. Yeah.
Amen. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's really the other side. So it kind of brings us back around to your point about the media. Right.
Yeah.
Where they
don't accept. They
don't accept, and they intimate that there's something wrong.
Right. Well, they say age gracefully, age this, age that, and everyone should be so accepting and this, but they won't put that in a movie. They won't.
No.
At one point you become the neighbor or the funny friend or the goofy mother-in-law. Yeah. But, it's just like what we were saying, though, and I think that it folds into this, like we were saying about the fashion industry and the beauty industry. the whole messaging now of all different body types and all this, yet we're still stuck on the roadblock of age. And you even see it in men. They're given a little bit more leeway, but ageism, and I know this from a lot of my friends, is rampant in the LGBTQ community.
Rampant. Absolutely rampant. Absolutely.
I find that so interesting from a community that has, and all these people who are part of it that have worked so hard to be open about who they are and accepted, yet they are some of the worst offenders of ageism.
Some are.
Some are.
Aren't, but some definitely are.
Well, and again, it's a stereotype about, and I'm using the language not to be offensive, but what all my gay friends use. A lot of my friends who are my age, which is 50, who are gay, are like, oh God, I'm no longer a twink. Or, now they're all looking at me to be the sugar daddy, or, and I have some gay friends that are really, these men who are so handsome,
I know,
are struggling like women are struggling in feeling judged, where if they were straight and 50 and successful, they would be beating women off with a stick.
And it's because of the big monster, age. This thing called age is something that is treated like it's some dark thing that's just going to destroy any kind of happiness or joy or anything. And I'm speaking generally, of course, but what I really find mostly as an 84-year-old woman is the compartment of the segregation. For example, the single sites.
Right.
The single sites. We're all single women.
Yeah.
And I don't know if any of you has tried single sites, but if you're beyond, this site's for 50, this site's between 60 and this. And then if you go above that, there's absolutely silence. There's nothing.
Well, I was with one of my friends, and her daughter is in college, and she's on one of the sites, right? Like, I don't remember which one it was, Tinder or one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I had never really looked at it. I said, okay, so should we punched in, we went in as her, and she's all of 20, maybe 21 now. Beautiful girl. And it was unbelievable which men were tagging her. They were 50s, 40s. So all these men of all different ages are on these sites. Right. Yet a woman of 50 on one of those dating sites probably would not get any attention. If they did get attention, it would be probably from some pretty undesirable people who are maybe just, for whatever reason. But the women are now pushed to silver singles and part-time and this. Yeah, all of my guy friends who are on these sites are all on this and that and Tinder and whatever they're all called now. I can't even remember.
It's all about age too. And it's all segregated.
Yeah. And I think sadly, so much of it comes down to looks.
Yeah, appearance. Age equates. America seems to equate age with. How do you like this one that you look good for your age? Why do people say that? You look good for? You either look good or you're not. I hate that saying. And why do you have to look good? For your age. I mean, there's so much equation with the appearance of things, and that's when age shaming happens. Then there's depression. People feel marginalized. They feel invisible. And how about the medical profession too? I recently had to go to a physician a year ago or so, and I complained about a few things. And he said, people your age get that. Live your life.
But see,
take
now,
Tylenol.
But I am going to have to sort of defend the medical person because we do age. We physically do age. Yeah. And there are things that do not happen at certain ages. I know it takes me a lot longer if I go for a run or I go play tennis. I'm not, even 30 anymore, where I didn't, where I could wake up the next day. I mean, I can be really basic and really honest, I can't drink like I did in my 20s and 30s. I used to be able to go out all night and then still, sleep for 2 hours and go to work and be fine. If I did that now, I'd be in bed for 3 days.
Melissa and Jules, I found my toaster in the fridge. And
I want to know how that happened.
Boy.
I found it in the fridge and I stood there thinking, did I put it there or did a monster come during the night? I have memory lapses.
You probably went right into a place of fear. Oh my God.
I did. And I thought, oh my God, I better start watching it. I mean, there's all kinds of things that happen, but again, that's physiologically. Of course, things are going to happen. They can happen when you're younger too. Mm-hmm. And of course they happen when you're, when you move on in life at different times. But I don't even think that's what age is. I think age is I think there's a vast difference.
But I think there's a vast difference in I think we're all saying the same thing between physiological age and mental age and biological age. Yeah. And, before this all started, we all were talking about how, age is used against so many people, yet we're in a time we were talking about because of Tiger Woods today, thoughts and, all good wishes that he recovers brilliantly. Yeah. But one of the things they kept fixating on was how old he was.
45.
And it kept coming up over and over and over and over. And we just came off the Super Bowl with Tom Brady and everybody constantly talking about how old he is. Mm-hmm. But yet someone like Tom Brady, they're saying it as a compliment. Like, can you believe, mm-hmm. where with a woman who was 45, they'd be like, oh, she's 45. Yeah, some of these men, but yet, I do look at the Serena Williams and she is celebrated for her age. Yeah. What do you need to do to change? What do we need to do to change the conversation that we can all be spoken of in that sort of reverential way? Like, they're being honored for keeping it physically together. I mean, these people are in very extreme sports, or like a Tom Brady, yeah, they should be honored for being that age, but it shouldn't be so shocking.
I think the first thing to do is take a stand whenever you feel age discriminated, is take a stand on it. If someone calls you an old cougar or, makes these cliches that we all hear all the time, stand up for yourself. Also, really, this is going to sound a little spirit-like, but I think we really have to acknowledge and love ourselves, and not think, oh, I'm an 80-year-old and I can't do this. But God, I really have a lot that I can do and have done, and I really am like myself, and I'm going to do it and try to break some barriers. And I think that is very important. And also learn from the younger people. I think technology, I'm a tech moron and I have tech anxiety. And I'm trying to learn more and more and more. And, I have gone to the Genius Bar at Apple, and I have been told while I'm sitting there by some 19-year-old wearing a T-shirt that says Genius, he said, maybe you should get a Jitterbug phone. I thought, what's a Jitterbug phone?
It's got the big numbers.
We're using abacuses,
Right.
But Melissa, that's what the Age March is about. Right? It's about expanding people's minds and looking at these types of, everything else has been touched upon, but not age. And,
why? It's almost a rhetorical question. I'm not looking to you. I'm asking myself, why? We've gone into multiculturalism. We've gotten rid of people aren't supposed to be body shamed anymore. God forbid in this PC world, anyone say anything about anybody, but you can still call someone old in a negative way. And nobody freaks out. There's not some big Twitter or Facebook explosion by saying, no one's freaking out and saying horrible things back when someone says so-and-so looks old or someone's old.
I think we just need to be more responsible. You know,
but how do we motivate people to look at age in the same way as a discrimination, whether you be young or old?
I think people are afraid of age on one hand. On the other hand, they're not taking it seriously. They think really like it's some kind of disability that I have to put up with. And sociologically, I feel we're very behind the times when it comes to age, and that someday soon we're going to look at this and this conversation and say, remember when we used to, segregate people by age and you couldn't get a job if you were 80 or 90. And I think, Melissa, that question, why it hasn't happened yet, I think we have to take more of a stand. And that's what Julie is doing. Thank God. Mm-hmm. How lucky I am that I have Julie Stern, one of our great producers and human beings, to take risk. I mean, she didn't have to do this.
No.
To take risk. And it's a start of a movement. And also to you, Melissa, and not only you as a person in your career, but someone your age, supporting this. I think we need more people doing this. And I'm just so thrilled. It's a dream come true that when Julie said she would be the executive producer on this, because it's going to be global. And I have to say thank you to my fabulous daughter, Susie Younger, too. And I also have to thank Bonnie Marcus, who wrote a book called Not Done Yet and got Revitalash to give us some money so we could, give this march.
Right. Julie, I want to, go back to, because you and I work in a very, in the same world, which I think is, media really is, and film and television, we really are part of the problem. Again, I go back to, why is it still the great, horror, when every agent's like, well, she's this now, how do we, here's what drives me crazy. And I'm sure this has happened to you. You'll be in a meeting with someone and it'll be some executive who has potentially very, very smart and whatever. And they're a lot younger. They may have perhaps risen through the ranks a little too quickly, or maybe they are brilliant. And they start telling you how to do your job. And I found myself actually saying, and I think I was saying it younger. Let me explain to you. I've been doing this longer than, I've been doing this since you were in college. Please don't tell me how to do this. I've kept up. I know. And then I'm disgusted at myself for saying it, because it's defensive, and B, I was that person. And that's maybe they are. I mean, maybe they are smart, but I don't know about you, but it makes me want to tear my hair out. Trust me, I know what I'm doing.
Why are they doing that? Why did they treat you that way
usually because age? Usually because they're the ones in the power of canceling your show or signing your check.
Oops. But there's a whole breed of people even younger that stand up for that now if they observe it.
Do you think it's mostly our generation? Yeah. When I say our generation, I mean people 40, 50 and above, that we, and especially as women, that we're not as emboldened as the younger generation? Do you think that's part of it too? Do you think
I do.
Say we're the fighters in this, we're experiencing something that maybe the younger generation knows how to stand up to?
I do. I think the younger generation is fabulous. And I've also noticed too, in all the years, the decade I've been doing the age marches, there were 5. 2018 was the last one. It was the younger people I heard from afterwards. It was the younger people who sent me emails and said, this is so cool that you're doing this, and telling me their stories about how they're let go from startup companies because they were approaching 30 and they were bringing in younger people and they want to integrate. So I think that the merging of the younger people And so many people who are past 40 have already settled into, oh, I'm getting old, or if I only knew then what I know now.
But don't you think that we can learn something from the younger generation? And maybe it's because we've, as women, I'm speaking specifically, have opened so many doors. And like my mother, we paved the way, that they're in a place in their lives that they're comfortable enough to stand up for themselves, where none of us necessarily in the time that we were all coming up would have. I mean, is that?
I think so.
I think so. That's, but don't you think that's why I think it's so important that this age march really addresses that group, because that's the support. They're the ones that need to also be the voices that say, we're only here because of them, and we won't allow ourselves to be treated this way.
Great. Exactly.
So don't treat them that way.
My nieces are that way. Now that they're old enough, I ask them questions and I bounce ideas off of them.
Yes.
And I'm like, they're intelligent, they're smart, and they're strong women.
Right.
And
that's such a good point. It's such a good point.
And I think if you tune in on the 27th, you'll see more of our of what we've got planned for this global.
Yeah.
That is, I think, in engaging the millennials who have learned to use their voices in helping change the narrative is going to be very important for ageism moving forward. It's kind of a strange dichotomy.
It's going, a reverse direction. But I think it's so true, because I always think when I leave the planet, maybe Age March, the younger people will be taking it over. Or we won't have, who knows what will happen. But I think that's a very good point. And I think a lot of people who are, quote, older, whatever we mean by older, are, as I say, they don't think that they can, they just don't think that they can be and becoming again, as Michelle Obama said. They're not becoming anymore. It's all done.
How do we start, besides the Age March, what are things that we can do to start to help change the narrative?
Well, I think, first of all, we have to go inside ourselves and revisit maybe a new purpose, a new dream, or maybe you want to write that book or make that film and absolutely think everything is possible. I use the phrase in Age March, age magnificent. And what I mean by age magnificent, everyone at every age is age magnificent. And it means that you have an inner self that is alive. You may have old dreams, or maybe you want to go to law school, or you can do it online. It doesn't matter, what age you're at, and revisit yourself. And the other steps that can be done, Melissa and Julie, I think maybe give some more age marches, like Gay Pride Month. This could be Age Pride Month all around the world, and get groups together. It's very narrow right now. There's all these age activists. If you go on the websites, you'll see them, and God bless them. They're doing great work, but they keep very separate. They're between 40 and 50 or this. We're all age activists because we're all aging, and there's no one way to age.
Julie, what can we be doing? Should we be writing letters to networks? Should we be writing letters to advertisers?
That's good.
You and I come out of the world where everything younger and newer is always better. And it's whoever has, well, the funny thing is, especially with advertising and networks, it's whoever has the disposable income. And only people over 35 generally have disposable income to buy things. So again, it's very sort of counterintuitive.
Melissa, we have to be an example.
Yes.
It's that simple.
That's
in how we are each day and interacting with people. When I'm in a boardroom, I try to set an example of fairness and no discrimination. I don't want to be discriminated against.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever have, but maybe I have. I don't know.
Oh, I think definitely we could all take a page. I can't believe I'm saying this, from the millennials about learning how to stand up for ourselves.
Exactly. I think that's very important.
And
we need to legislate too. There's some things that could be
Oh, well, don't even get me started on that. Before you jump in, I have one more question for both ladies.
Yes.
And again, I'm sorry, I know it just popped into my head. And do you think one of the things that's going to be positive, that's going to come out of potentially the pandemic and all these and quarantine, all that, is we're going to see people living in multi-generational homes now and younger generations learning how important and respecting the older generations? Do you think that sort of has forced everybody into a different level of appreciation?
I hope there might be more of that. And I was just thinking today, wouldn't it be wonderful, instead of one word I don't like is retirement, and then when you're a certain age, everyone says, well, do you want to go to assisted living or whatever? I really see places someday in the future where, addressing your question, all ages, like sanctuaries, will be together if they choose to. So I guess the answer is yes. What do you think, Jules?
I think that, people are already, hopefully the pandemic has humbled the country and the world. I pray for that, but, and in doing so, to Melissa's point, having more respect for their family as a whole, and therefore for their fellow man.
I think it's made people realize how important maybe some of their older relatives are and how attached they are. And I think that was and how much they add to their lives. I think, maybe when we look back however many years from now, that might be one of the upshots.
That's true. They won't be so separated or divided.
Or dismissive.
Dismissive. That's a hope. That's for sure. There's many hopes that can come with this age march, I believe.
Okay, Denise, sorry, I didn't mean to keep going once you popped into
I didn't actually even want to interrupt you guys, but you're hitting a nerve for sure. And people are feeling empowered to even say their age. It's kind of sad in a way to not feel like they can say their age. So we have someone from New Cleveland Radio, and she said, Barbara, you've truly given me the chutzpah to admit my age next week, and I will be 71. And that's still young. That's young.
It's a baby.
I should say young, right?
It's a baby.
Yes. And then Adam, we know Adam's mom. Mom says, I'm 91. What do you think about that?
I think that's awesome.
Great.
Yeah, right?
I think it's
Bravo.
awesome.
Happy birthday. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah. And I think that more conversation like this will make people feel more, it will be normal to admit your age, or it's not a big deal to say what your age is.
Hey, I bet you there's somebody on that wrote in that said, hey, I'm 25 and I really want to be recognized for my ability. I don't want to just skew towards the older, the younger as well.
Well, that's what I'm saying is I think a lot of getting rid of ageism is going to come from those under 30.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And especially, especially like I look at my son who's a Gen Z, that their ability to speak out against discrimination, against things that they're much more comfortable in speaking out now about things. Hopefully this will be something that they, he doesn't just wait till I'm in a wheelchair and push me off a cliff, which was always my mother's giant fear with me, but I didn't do it.
No, his generation will be wonderful because he won't be dismissive.
I think it's important what you talk about, the intergenerational, if we all have those experiences with all the different generations. So Alyssa says, it's so true what you say. I'm strong because of the work of my mother, my aunts, my grandmothers did to pave the way to show what strong women look like in all ages.
Which I think is so important. And I think, I hate to keep blaming the media, but it is, again, I think we're also at a precipice in the culture right now where so many things are changing there's just so many things are changing. And I work a lot with mental health, and the idea of suicide and depression mental health has now become less of a taboo topic.
Yes.
And hopefully we can get the conversation about age on that track, because you got to get on the ride to get there.
Yes.
What do you think about, like, we have 10,000 baby boomers turning 65 every day. They're, in 10 years, they're going to be 75. There's going to be the huge group of older people. They're not going to want to be discriminated against, And
I would say to that, is have compassion, teach it, practice it.
Very important.
I don't know what else to say about it. That's the most important thing.
Compassion and integration.
And I hate to be so pragmatic and not so evolved, as Julie is proving to be very evolved. Much more than I ever gave you credit for, Julie. I'm much more basic.
Thanks, pal.
Thank you. As this baby boomer group is aging, they're going to have the biggest control, because they're going to have they're going to be the biggest financial group. They're going to be the group that's going to be able to determine things. And unfortunately, we do live in a world where, I hate to say it, but money is power. And I think with the baby boomers, which I am not part of, they have a real opportunity to make a difference in that stance. If they don't want to buy something and they hear something aging, don't do it. Support the companies and the media and the things that do. And as sad as it is to say, it's also it's capitalism at its finest. So I think there's a real opportunity for the baby boomers to flex that economic muscle.
I think that's important.
Bingo.
Very important.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm not very deep. I'm very happy swimming in the shallow end of the pool.
Someone definitely made a comment about that. Money talks. Money's going to make a big shift in this. But here's another comment from someone, which was, I was kind of surprised. She said she's not in the business, I guess the entertainment business. She's a geriatric care manager. And I'm getting her question back here. And she says, she feels discriminated by the seniors, her clients. They ask her when is she retiring? She looks too old to help them.
Oh,
that's awful.
Yeah.
But see, there's a lot of that old generation that grew up with this age racism, you could call it, or something. That's what I mean, the old habits and cliches. So it's up to us and the younger people to change that.
I'm thinking of one of my mom's jokes.
Oh, yeah.
So sorry.
Do tell.
When she used to talk about, older men with younger women.
Yes.
But it's sort of this woman, if they're complaining so much, she should go stand on their oxygen too.
So her
really? Am I so old that I can't tap dance on that?
I know.
Really? You want to see who's strong? Right?
Or all old people leave the room.
Well, it's actually a true story. Unfortunately, my mom was visiting a friend whose husband had a massive heart attack, and they were actually at Cleveland Clinic. And my mom had no idea that one of the leads was under her foot, and every time she uncrossed or crossed her legs, all the machines would go off, and they couldn't figure out why. And they would all come right. And it turned out my mother was tripping one of the cords every time she would change position.
Oh, God, that's so funny. I mean, we can make fun of ourselves too, but sociologically, we can do great things and we can make money too. Just because you're 80 or 90 doesn't mean that you can't suddenly make a lot of money.
But by the way, about this woman who her patients are complaining, it's like, that's absurd. That's absurd.
Yeah.
Say,
that's
be grateful
old
I'm here.
prejudice.
Just say, be grateful I'm here taking such good care of you.
That's right.
Because you won't like the next one.
And we have people making comment. They're from 21 to 91 on this show.
Excellent.
Guys. Yeah, it's really good. And someone made a comment about, what do you think about Bernie Sanders following? He has a lot of young followers.
I love Bernie. To me, Bernie is ageless in the sense he's not hooked up to the number. He's Bernie. He's doing his thing. He believes in it. He has the energy and of his message. I love that the younger people are for Bernie. And that's a great paradigm.
Mm-hmm. So we probably want to wrap us up a little bit, but we'd like to know what is next for each of you.
Dinner.
That you're thinking that far in advance.
Yeah, I'm being very literal. Dinner.
Oh,
You have a book coming out.
I do.
I do.
People, I would just say, people miss you. They're missing you. They're making comments.
Well, my podcast, I'm going to be on Instagram Live, I believe, Friday evening. Do a little pre-Golden Globe Instagram Live. And then I'm going to have first thing Monday morning, I will have out a special version of Melissa Rivers Group Text all about the Golden Globes.
Oh, I think that's fabulous.
Yeah, we miss you in that.
Well, I miss it
that's
too.
great. And I want to say I'm going to continue with my podcast, The Rant, with New Cleveland Radio with Karen Hale, and interview more interesting people who are from all ages, and do lots of things. Who knows?
Well,
maybe go back on the single sites too.
The next big thing is March 27th, right?
March
Facebook
27th.
Live,
Yes.
Instagram Live, 1 p.m. Pacific. You've got celebrities, you have people all around the world participating in this first virtual Age March.
And how long is the age? How long is
educate themselves?
Yes. How long is the Age March?
It'll be about an hour.
Okay. That's doable for
not only visually entertaining and exciting, really, with these people from all over the world and the hosts and everything, but the message, you're going to hear new things from a lot of young people too.
Good. And Julie, how do they sign up? Just to remind them.
They can go to agemarch.com. They can find Barbara Rooker on Instagram or Facebook.
And we're gonna, after the Age March, when you're done producing it and doing such an amazing job, we're gonna let you out of your little black box. Only then.
I feel like you should be handcuffed. You can't see, but
I feel like you should be holding up like a newspaper with the date on it, like a hostage situation.
You know, I have to say that almost 4,000 people have joined agemarch.org, and just since February, almost a year, almost 4,000. It's probably more now. They're hearing about it.
It's relatable.
It's amazing.
Yeah. In programming and in Age March, it's relatable. Up and down, older, younger.
It's ageless.
Age March. Get involved.
www.agemarch.org.
Age March, just one word, agemarch.org. Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, our thanks to
thank you so much, Denise. Thank you so much. I want to thank the Commonwealth Club, and I want to thank Melissa. Fabulous, just fabulous.
Melissa Rivers. Barbara.
I'd like to be on her red carpet. And Jules, the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You both made it so interesting.
And thank you, everyone. And that concludes our program at the Commonwealth Club of California.
And Denise, always thank you to you.
Thank you.